Hello everyone, Be Natural here and welcome back to another WUA video. Today we'll be covering our star protagonist Rover, and more specifically his Havoc form. Rover does an insane amount of damage and might be the strongest free character to ever grace Gacha gaming. Seriously, he's so strong I had to use level 1 weapons sometimes to get footage because bosses would die too quickly. Havoc Rover's form is unlocked after completion of the Grand Warstorm main story quest, which starts at Union level 21. Once unlocked, you can swap between his Spectro and Havoc form in the Resonance menu by clicking the swap button next to his element on the attribute screen. Although he may be a free unit accessible by everyone, his damage shouldn't be underestimated. His output is really high and his burst might be the strongest available in the game at the moment. Havoc MC is primarily played as a main DPS, although you can build him to be a bursty sub DPS as well. Some pros are that he deals great damage, has quick animations, is easy to use, and most importantly, him and his resonance chains are free. At the moment, you can acquire 2 for the Havoc form, one for completing the quest where you unlock him, and another as the reward for Sonen's Casket delivery level 8. His cons are that his ulti takes a lot of energy to charge, and that his kit can be hard to execute while you're being hit stunned. Speaking of which, let's talk about his kit now. His Forte circuit, aka his core mechanic, is Umbra Eclipse. Havoc MC has an Umbra gauge which you fill by dealing damage with your basic attacks, skill, enhanced skill, or intro. Once the gauge is full, you can use your heavy attack to enter your dark, surge, or transformed state. In this state, your basic attacks and skills are replaced with enhanced versions that deal more damage. In addition, your heavy attack combo gains an additional part called Thwack Blade, which deals tons of damage. His basic attack is a 5-part combo that ends with a downward slam. The heavy attack is a diagonal slash with his wing and can be initiated from any part of his basic attack combo. Pressing basic attack after your heavy will allow you to go directly into the 4th part of your attack combo. Your Midair attack is a standard vertical plunge. The damage is pretty low, so it's mainly used to get back on the ground quickly. The dodge counter is a standard single hit counter and grants a small amount of Umbra gauge. His skill is a 2-hit attack that grants a large amount of Umbra. Both hits will grant the full amount of gauge, but you can only get it once per skill use. Rover's Resonance Liberation, or ultimate, is a high damage single hit nuke with a respectable amount of AoE. His ulti does not change in his Dark Surge form, so it's ideally used in a standard mode to preserve gauge time for your other abilities. His outro skill places an AoE on the ground that deals damage over time, and his intro skill is a single hit that generates a decent amount of Umbra. As far as Forte leveling priority goes, I recommend going with the Forte circuit first, then Resonance skill, followed by Resonance Liberation, and your basic attack. Make sure you take all of those to level 3 first before overly investing in one, since the material requirements are fairly low early on. He has some great resonance sequences, although we can only get up to S2 for now. Notable ones are his S2, which makes a skill cooldown reset when entering Dark Surge, S4, which lowers enemy Havoc resistance when transforming or using ult, and his S6, which gives him an impressive 25% crit chance while transformed. Next, let's move on to his gameplay and rotations, but before we do, we have to cover his main 4-cost echo, Dreamless. Dreamless is one of the 2 4-cost options for the Sun Sinking Eclipse set, and deals a staggering 50% more damage when used after MC's ulti, so it's our go-to pick. In the past, this damage buff applied to other characters as well, and you could chain 2 to 3 Dreamlesses in a row, but unfortunately you can't do that anymore. To recap before moving on, his Umbra gauge is filled when you deal damage with any of his basic attacks, heavy attack, mid-air attacks, dodge counters, and skills. The most common way to generate gauge will be to swap in using intro, then left mouse button to slam, use your skill, then use a heavy attack into basic 4+5. It's great to min-max and do exactly what you need, but combat is very dynamic, so you'll frequently find yourself needing to adjust and unable to follow a rotation. Just keep in mind that your plan is to swap in with intro, use your skill, and fill your gauge with 1 to 2 basic attack or heavy attack combos. Once your gauge is full, hold basic attack to cast Devastation and transform, then use basic attack combo, skill, basic attack combo 2 more times, and end with ult if you have it, Then finish by animation cancelling your Dreamless Echo. The input should look something like this. You can swap the placement of the 3 basic attack combos, but make sure to skill somewhere in the middle since the enhanced skill will give you more gauge to stay transformed longer. Additionally, it can be hard to tell exactly where you are in your combo during the chaos of combat, so keep an eye out for the horizontal spin animation, which will let you know that you've just performed the final attack in a basic attack chain. If you feel like you won't be able to get 3 basic attack combos off, feel free to go for 2 heavy attack combos instead. Thwack Blade does a ton of damage, so if you don't have time for a full 3x rotation, fitting in a heavy attack combo or 2 might net you some extra damage. As for animation cancelling your Echo, it just means to swap to another character after starting the Echo's animation, since it'll continue even when the casting character is not on the field. This is unique to certain characters and Echoes, and Dreamless is one of the few that get to benefit from this. Team comp options are pretty flexible, but his all-star teammate is definitely Danjin, with whom he can swap roles as a main or sub DPS at any time. Main DPS Danjin used to be more popular, but with the nerf to the enhanced Dreamless damage on other characters, more people have been choosing to use Rover as the main character. That being said, you can still absolutely play either comp. Those looking for a more defensive setup can take Jianshin as well, though the combat pacing will be significantly slower than the other 2 options. The most popular support for Rover in any comp is Verena for her flexible all-encompassing damage buff, but Baichi also works just as well for a 4-star alternative. For Echoes, you'll want to take Dreamless and use the sun-sinking Eclipse set as mentioned previously. The synergy with Rover and the ability to swap off mid-animation makes it stronger than its alternative, Crownless. Make sure you go for a crit rate main stat unless you already have a crit rate weapon, in which case you could consider crit damage. For 3 costs, take Havoc damage percentage as the main stat line, and 1 cost should focus on attack percentage. The primary focus for substats is crit rate and damage, but basic attack, skill damage, resonance liberation damage, and energy regen are all worth considering for the other 3 slots. As far as weapons go, the current 5-star standard weapon, Emerald of Genesis, is the best in slot. The energy regen is appreciated, and with S2 Havoc MC, we can easily get the double stack on the attack damage buff. Most importantly, it comes with crit rate as a primary, allowing us to take even more crit damage. For 4-star alternatives, the Commando of Conviction is a solid weapon for almost any sword user. The active lasts for as long as we could need, and being a 4-star, it comes with a decent amount of stats as well. Looming Loss is also a decent alternative, and the conditional buff is also remedied largely by our S2. If you don't have access to any of the previous 3 weapons, Sword number 18 will perform better than any 3-star, and is both craftable via World Boss materials and tradable for ore from the merchant at the Tiger's Maw mine after you complete the questline there. And there you have it. Havoc MC is surprisingly strong for a free unit and can definitely stand toe-to-toe with other S-tier damage dealers. His sustained damage is good, and his burst damage is the strongest in the game at the moment. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you can see more of my content, and let me know what you'd like to see next down in the comments. I hope you're having fun in game, and as always, good luck with your pulls.